Audrey, thank you for being here for this interview on today, July 7th, 2020. I would like you to give your name and your title and how long you've been in the broadcast business, please.
Okay. My name is Audrey Prywitch. I'm the Vice President of News for Fox 2 and News 11. I've been in this position since 2008. I've been at Fox 2 since right after 9/11. I came over here as the Assistant News Director, and then I was promoted to News Director, as I said, in 2008.
So you've had experience with crises. I know you trained in broadcast journalism, so you've seen everything you've learned come into to being. But let's talk about these last several months. Perhaps the aha moment when things changed and perhaps your operations had to change.
It's which crisis are we talking?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
First, COVID. Let's talk about COVID, and of course, the intersection of the George Floyd murder, essentially, and things were compounded. Right.
So COVID, obviously, for everybody in this world, has changed more than we ever could imagine. So for me and for my boss, General Manager Kurt Kruger, and our company, the first and foremost important thing was keeping people safe and keeping people well and feeling a responsibility for that. And one of the important things we did was lessen density in a newsroom. There's 90 plus of us here in the newsroom. And the first thing we did was lessen the density. And that was starting to move people out of here and work remotely. So reporters and photographers now meet in the parking lot, and they drive separately to stories. So that was one way we lessened the density. And we slowly but surely, as this got worse and worse, and the county did stay-at-home work orders, we moved home. And people, as all over the country, we saw people started working remotely, and television stations also realized that with new technology, we were able to work from home. And we did that. And then we socially distanced in the studios, and we separated by 2 different studios. So there's been lots of changes, all reflected of the severity and the level of threat with the disease. So with every change that the city and county made, we reflected that change, and are continuing to just do what we can to keep people safe. That really is first and foremost, as I said before, and I cannot say enough how important that is to during this whole pandemic.
There is, of course, the need in the business. This is a revenue generating business, broadcasting is. You have to get your money. You have to generate revenues in order to keep people on staff. So it's interesting and it's nice to hear about this safety first mentality, and it appears it comes from the top and it's coming down and seems unusual.
It is unusual, and it makes me proud. I'm not going to sit here and go on and on like I'm drinking Kool-Aid, but I am. There's definite points along the way that have been impressive to me. When all those news conferences were happening with Governor Pritzker and Governor Parson, and all those news conferences, we were carrying every single one live for those daily briefings. And I never once heard from any of my bosses, stop it, don't cover that, we're losing revenue. It was all about serving the viewer. It was all about every single day airing those press conferences that were so important. As we heard from Governor Pritzker about the cases in Chicago, and for people that live in Illinois here and our viewers here, and the one with Governor Parson, and all the pandemic task force news conferences. We covered every single one of them. And it was never about, oh my God, look at all the commercial time that we're losing. It was about serving the viewer. And that was a really impressive to me, that we made that commitment.
So this commitment really is to localism. I would love for you to speak about that, because oftentimes people get very snobby about their media intake, and localism, it doesn't necessarily seem important to them, and yet you are speaking to this very thing that makes local news, local media so important.
So we did it in many different ways, serving our viewers locally. One of the things I'm most proud of, one of the things is during this very scary time, how to make people feel good and happy. And what united us was through our helicopter, we decided to do flyovers in the morning, and it was chalk art. And we reached out to our viewers and said, hey, get your kids outside and just do beautiful, happy chalk art on your sidewalks, and we'll fly over. And we did that, and it was a wonderful moment for us in the morning shows to do that. I don't know if you saw any of them, but they were really great.
Yeah.
And then we did the same thing in the early evening. We said to our first responders and to healthcare workers and all the folks that are on the front lines, let's do a flyover, get outside, socially distance with mask on, and wave to us. And we flew over hospitals, we flew over fire departments. It was a great way to show our thanks, but it was also a great way to demonstrate very visually our sense of community and our sense of commitment to these, neighborhoods and communities that we serve.
So you've spoken about the helicopter as one means to getting to your audience and to displaying news and information. Now, the remote is not anything new to the business, but operating with all these different, you're a collaborative team. So I guess what I'd like to know is, how did your teams meet each day to decide what was going to be put on the air, et cetera, et cetera?
When we were working remotely, so again, I talked about our company Nexstar. When we decided to work remotely, that was our boss is saying, yes, do what you need to do. And so we sent everybody home. We sent all the producers home. We had the reporters out in the field. We had a few special cases of people for safety and health reasons went home. And we got full support for that, which was really great. And we did it differently. We did it professionally. We didn't show people sitting in their living rooms in shorts. There's a way to still make it professional and do it the right way. So I was really proud of how we did that. And so when we were working from home, every day we still had editorial calls all day long. We had Zoom calls with the managers, and they started at 8:30. And there was a series of them all throughout the day where we talked about what the content would be. And then we had a producer call on Zoom. And communication was through Zoom the entire day. We were talking about stories. We used Teams, so you knew exactly when the helicopter was going up and what each producer needed. And so each producer was working remotely from home through Teams and through Zoom calls. And then you keep one producer in the control room, which you need to have. And you need to have one producer in the newsroom, and then everybody else goes home. So, and this is really what television stations all over the country did. They did it at 4 and 5. It's just, as I said, with new technology, we're able to keep people safe and continue our business. So throughout the day, we had these editorial calls and decided what the reporters were going to be doing and how we were going to handle stories. We had one of our producers at home, one of our executive producers at home, logging all the news conferences that I mentioned with Sam Page and the Governor Pritzker news conference and the Governor Parson news conference and what the takeaways were that. And then we got those sound bites, as we call them, into the newscasts. So we got a pretty good routine going of working remotely. And I don't think we ever missed a beat. And our numbers were good because we had that content and we were serving our viewers as best we could.
So when you have the best teams possible, you can meet those deadlines, and obviously you did. Do you foresee this system working when, I don't know if things ever get quiet, but when we pass the pandemic and other things for reflection here, where do you see the business, your business, going after all this? What are the changes that you see taking place?
I think there'll always be a need in our business for brick and mortar. I think that, you asked and I did not answer. It wasn't because I was trying to get around how old I am, but I didn't tell you how long I've been in the business. It's nearly 40 years. And in that time, I will tell you that there is this newsroom feel, that, this camaraderie, being in a newsroom. I think that it's by nature of what we do for a living, and communicating and sharing stories and having the assignment desk and the scanners and all of that. No matter how new things get, some things still stay the same. And I think that a newsroom, a news set, a weather center, those are all very important things. A control room, talking in the newsroom, that being under one roof. I don't see that changing, but I do see that we've realized that through a pandemic, we are able to do this remotely if we had to. So I think in the future, there could be things that happen that will force us to move back home, but it will be temporarily. I don't see, I miss everybody terribly. I miss the photographers and seeing the photographers. And we have a hall where they ingest all of their video and where they can get equipment traded out and use the bathroom, but it's a hall that's just for them. And last week I happened to go down there, and it's just, you realize how much you miss people, and seeing the photographers in the hall, seeing the reporters. I miss everybody. And so I think I look forward to the day where we can all be back together again. So I don't see a newsroom becoming, it's not like other businesses where you can work remotely. I don't foresee, I don't want to see that.
I'm glad you're addressing these codes and conventions of the business that still have stayed pretty much intact, despite many of these technological changes and ways of doing things. Do you believe the what has been the audience reception? I mean, I'm sure you get, comments and such during this time. What have they been saying?
I think they are appreciative. I think that they have been welcoming our talent into their homes for many years. This isn't a station that trades people out. And so the Elliot Davises and the Mandy Murphys and the Sandy Millers and the Glenn Zimmermans and on and on and on, and our morning team and Randy Knott and John Pertzborn, Margie Ellisor, Chris Higgins, these are all familiar faces, and they've been there and been welcomed into living rooms for many years. And I think that there has been, in all this change, that viewers have been happy to see people still in their same places. And again, that was very important as we talked about what we're going to look like when we moved out. And I have an amazing boss, Kurt Kruger, but I also have a great corporate lead. His name is Jerry Walsh. And we talked a lot about what this is going to look like. And what we decided was it's still very important for the people, the meteorologists, to be in the weather center. I point this way because that's past this wall is the studio. That the viewers need to see that their meteorologists are still in that weather center, that our anchors are still on the set, that there is some trust there, that we're still here for you every day doing what we do. And I'm really glad that we kept that true to it. I won't say who it was on the network knows, but I was horrified to see this network anchor. Her husband was helping with shooting her hit for the network, and you saw his big toe in the camera. People don't want to see behind the curtain too much, that there is still some professionalism to what we do, that we're not wearing, our gym shorts. Even though we do, but you just can't see it. But not lifting that veil too much, because when you lift the veil, it's not about smoke and mirrors, but I think it is about professionalism. And you want to see people giving you serious news being professional. And so that's why I'm glad we kept our meteorologists in the studio. And we had our anchors on the side.
Right. Three most impacting things for you now as VP of News here, lessons learned, your feelings. You know, you're passionate, obviously passionate about your work. So I would like this to be your personal statement in terms of what has happened and what your hopes and dreams are for the near future and, you know, down the path. Please.
Yeah, I've been here a long time, and this is my second family, so I care about these people very much. I care about this newsroom, and I care about keeping them safe, and I want everybody to be well. And I also I'm not from here, but I care about this town. This is my adopted town now, and I've lived here long enough to have a high care factor for the viewers and a responsibility to them, and also keeping all of us safe. So that's a huge, important thing to me. It's also important to me, and I'm no one's mother. I already have 3 of my own. I don't need any more children, but I do feel a responsibility to keep our reporters safe, and that involves any kind of protests. We talked about this a little bit off camera, you and I, about how important it is to keep our reporters safe, and a responsibility for that. And I think showing viewers that we care, and that we're going to bring them the news that they want. We don't have consultants here, so there's no consultant telling us what to do, but we do try to be relevant, and we try to just without being on one side or the other and staying right down the middle, getting people the news they need and not getting pulled in any way, left or right in the middle. I mean, that's an important dance right now, and I take that seriously too.
I think anybody who is considering this business, any parents sending their young people to study the field would be very proud to have them work at your station.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because we have a legacy here of interns becoming employees. And it's pretty amazing. All the interns that have worked here that then became full-time employees, from Jamie Travers that does weather for us. Kim Hudson was an intern here. Michaela McGee was an intern here. Darian Henderson was an intern here. I could go on and on and on. You know, if you can get an internship and get to a place like Fox 2 that really mentors and pulls people along, it's really cool to see all the people that were, there's many, but that's just off the top of my head, how many people were interns here.
Well, I think it's safe to say thank you for your service, and thank you for all the great things you still must do in the future. And Press Club, St. Louis Press Club, appreciates your time, both as a board member, of course, and as an esteemed member of the media here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Audrey.